good, everybody? Happy Monday and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is sort of like a movie review, my opinion on Coming to America, the sequel. Against my better judgment, I decided to go ahead and watch the movie, and man, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I think I underestimated how bad it was going to be, and so of course I decided to make a video about it. Why else am I gonna sit through a bad movie for over an hour and not make a video about it? It has to be good for something, you know. But really, I think the biggest problem that I had with Coming to America was its portrayal of Africa. And I think that it is disappointing that, Coming to America, the original, also had a terrible portrayal of Africa. Let's not get it twisted. It is a sentimental movie. It is a movie that many of us care about and grew up watching, but regardless, it got it wrong in 1988, right? And you'd think that in 2021, where we're exposed to so much information, where there's so much, talk about representation and people having seats at tables and hearing the voices of those you're representing, you would think that this film would be different. But I think this film actually shows the bigger problem with Hollywood making films about Africa, particularly them making films without caring, first of all, without caring how they represent Africa. And so what happens then if you don't care about the people whose story you're trying to tell is that you're gonna misrepresent them, because if you don't care about telling the story well, then you don't care to do the work that it takes to tell that story well. And granted, Zamunda is not a real place, we get it, but it still is loosely inspired by Africa, and it still is, the West's opinion of what Africa is. And to be quite honest, I thought that maybe they were not going to be as irresponsible as they were. King Akeem has elephants and lions in his backyard, a stereotype we have seen so many times portrayed by the media about Africa, a stereotype that many people now should know it is not correct, and there's no reason why such images of Africa should continue to be portrayed. It's very irresponsible, but also continues to perpetuate the stereotypes that are very harmful about Africans, which is that we're all the same, and that, the one story of, we all ride leopards to school and we all speak with that one accent, which I'm not even going to address in this video. I'm not even going to start there. But I think the biggest thing that was so shocking to me is the lengths to which this film went to misrepresent the continent. I do think that, yes, they were trying by putting some of the supporting actors to be Africans, and I'm sure there's like a few fashion designers there, even so the Ethiopian choir, but all of these things are not enough if at the tables where these decisions are being made, that there is no one that is represented that is of African descent. I think every time anyone is trying to tell a story about a people group that's not their own, they should at least care enough to have them represented at the tables to which these films are being discussed. I think Coming to America and how horribly it portrays Africans is exactly what happens when the people that you're talking about are not in the room when you're talking about them. And I think all of this could have been avoided. I think we saw it with Black Panther, we saw it with Beyonce's Black is King, that as much as those stories have their own problems, but they actually did try to have some people in the decision making. I think Beyonce being probably the best example of this, working with artists and stylists and producers who are from Africa, and having African people be very part of the heart of the work, right? And then Coming to America, it's very clear they didn't do this. Not only is it clear that they didn't do it, that they didn't care about how they represent us. And I think it strongly comes across all the movie. Yes, the humor is bad, and the soundtrack is terrible, and the plot is, what is that nonsense? But even then, some of these things can be excused. But I think the thing I couldn't get past is how problematic and harmful their portrayal of Africa is. You know how annoying it is that many of us Africans spend a lot of time in various spaces trying to convince people who are not African that everything they know of Africa is wrong. Instead of us being in the spaces and taking up space, we spend time having to defend our existence and to prove to you that we are not as they say, savages, right? And yet you have films made by black people continuing to portray us as backward, as nothing but backward or royalty. In this case, perhaps both. But we're not only royalty and we're not backward. Please, it's 2021. Nobody should be making films about Africa that are that way. And yet here we find ourselves again. We're not only royalty, as my friend Taekwondo has said in her post that she wrote about Black is King, that is so brilliant. I'm gonna leave it in the comments, in the description box. But we're not just royalty, as Coming to America portrays, and we're not just we're not ignorant, as also Coming to America portrays some of the normal people in the film. I think there's more stories that can be told about Africa than what we have seen the media do so far. And I think, yes, the bigger problem is that, one, Hollywood is not having Africans at the seat at the table, but I think that we have proven and have shown that we're capable of telling our own stories. And so next time, dear Hollywood, next time you try to tell a story about Africa or Africans or something that is very as loosely as Zamunda is inspired by Africa, try to at least have the people who you're trying to represent in the rooms that the decisions about the films are being made. Apart from this, you're never gonna make a good African film. And more importantly, there's talented Africans across the board. There's talented African stylists, script writers, directors, producers, everything that you're looking for in when it comes to telling a good African story. There's people who are more than capable of doing it in the continent or from the continent. That it is inexcusable for this to still be happening in 2021. It is embarrassing and inexcusable, and honestly, we would rather be spending our time fighting other things, that the last thing that we should be fighting for is for our stories to be told, us to be represented in a manner that is dignifying, right? Us to not be shown, I don't even know how to put it, guys. I think words fail me because it is very disappointing. It's not surprising because from the trailer, we expected it to be bad. But the lengths to which this film goes to actually, it could have just been based in America, to be quite honest, as the original was. I would have been okay with that, actually. They should have done that. But what the lengths to which they went to include Africa, but not only include Africa, but a misportrayal, a chronic, archaic way of looking at the continent, the way that Coming to America does. It is so disappointing, even more disappointing when you've got, Black people at the helm of such films, because it also speaks to the complicated relationship that folks in the diaspora have with Africans. But I do think that, films and movies are important because they shape people's perceptions. And we fought long enough for people's perceptions of Africa to change. As much as we're not, there's not a perfect African story. There's multitudes of things that are complex about telling our story. We don't expect somebody to do it perfectly. We can't even do it perfectly because of how diverse Africa is. With that being said, there are such basic things that are expected when it comes to telling a good story about other people that I think Coming to America didn't even try to attempt to tell a good story about Africans, and that is gravely disappointing. There's way better films that have been made by Africans. There's way better films such as Rafiki from Kenya. What a brilliant and purposeful film to watch. I think that more than anything, this reminds me of the importance of us telling our own stories. This reminds me of the importance of us as Africans to tell our own stories authentically, because no one can tell our own story better than ours. And while we're at it, critique any misrepresentation of us and our people. I think that we shouldn't have to fight for this, but we're here, right? The stereotypes are actually old, are old, but they're not only, it's not just a movie, because honestly, many of us have met way too many people who think the same exact way this movie portrays Africa, and we have seen the damage it does, and we have seen that kind of damage, and that is why I think many other Africans, I think there's so much that this movie does wrong. There's so much to unpack about this film, but the one thing I wanted us to talk about today is that I wish better stories of Africa were told? Heck yeah. Do I expect Hollywood to be the one telling those good stories? Not really, because again, I don't think that Hollywood is trying to fix Africa's image. All this to say, I think watching Coming to America stirred up a lot of feelings in my heart, but more importantly, it affirmed what I truly believe. As the proverb, I think it's a proverb or a saying or whatever it is, that unless the lion learns to tell its own story, the story will always glorify the hunter. And I think Coming to America is proof of that we need to tell our own stories. It is damn about time to tell our own stories. And there is, for anyone who's watching this video and you're not African, trust me, there is better African stories to watch that represent us way better than Coming to America does. Don't waste your time and money supporting this film or watching this film. I would say watch better films if you haven't already. And if you watch the film and disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the film. This is my 2 cents on Coming to America. It was as bad as I thought it was going to be, and even worse. There's a lot about that film that was wrong, but I think the thing that really disappointed me is, again, how they portrayed Africa and how Hollywood continues, white Hollywood, black Hollywood, all Hollywood continues to portray Africa. It's getting old. Do better, people. And that's all I had for today. That's my rant over. And let me know what you thought of the movie if you've watched it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the video. If you share the opinions, the same opinion I do, if you think I'm wrong, tell me. Whatever. I won't change my mind, but I want to hear from you still. But thank you for watching this video. Until next time, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Share this video if you liked it. And until next Monday, peace out. What's Rick Ross doing in the film? Let's talk about that for a moment. That cameo. How bad was that? I think that cameo sums up how bad that film is.